your thought with you're buying existing product, and today prices are going so high, you see a lot of, I guess you would say, value add syndicators now going into ground up development. What is your thought on buying existing product versus ground up development?
Yeah, what I think you're referring to is people are starting to pay the same cap rates for value add stuff that they would buy for a brand new asset. Yeah. And, we like to buy existing product because you're through all of the build process, right? And I can position my property then below the top of the market, because what happens when economies do turn, I mean, it affects everybody. It affects multifamily far less than it does any other real estate asset class. But what generally happens is people will reach down and pull the tenants up from the lower level. So the top guys try to pull up from the B plus guys, and the B guys try to find the B minus guys. It's a big, I call it the sucking of from the bottom, right? They kind of suck the tenants up from the bottom. So I don't, at the very, very top, I don't want to be the price leader in any market, because there's so many reasons for people to not want to be in that environment. Most of the people, like in Florida, there's 1,000 people moving into Florida every day. Not 1,000 people are able to afford $3,000, $4,000, $5,000, $6,000 a month rents. Most of those people, maybe 70%, are just ordinary people, and they need ordinary housing. They want a nice place to live. So if I play in that market, I set myself up for the biggest demand, and guess what? There's no new supply. Yeah, there's no new supply in that B plus, A minus market. All the new supply is coming in at A plus and A plus plus and plus plus plus, and it's really nice stuff. So it always has put me in the best situation that I can be in. Now, if I find a very new asset that I think there's a lot of upside, of course we'd still do it. But that's kind of hard to find, because most people that build are pretty sharp, and they're keeping their eye on rents.
Yeah, I like that too, because now you have a moat around your business, which is kind of insulating you from anything new out there. Because people go, oh, there's new inventory coming on, there's new product. Well, yeah, but it's $500 more a month than mine. So, that's a lot of money for anybody. And I think that, it's a whole different client they're getting. And then also, if there's a pullback, I always think that, I had a mentor tell me this years back, that when someone like loses a job or has something shake up economically, financially in their household, they really get hit. They don't just get like a little brush, you know what I mean? Yeah. So they're really dropping. You're not just like, oh, I'm going to go A to A minus. It's really like, I'm going A to like B minus, you know what I mean? Or something like this back into it. And it's just how it works. And I've had it a number of times when I self-manage properties as well, seeing it firsthand. So that's great. I understand that. So what about, you guys are vertically integrated, and you do a lot of management, tens of thousands of units you've done before, or you've owned as well. What are some pros and cons of being vertically integrated, and how does that, how does that benefit you and your investors?
Yeah, so we're vertically integrated because I believe there's two parts to any deal. One is the deal. The second is the execution or implementation of that business plan. And by being vertically integrated, we've been doing this for a really long time. We can push down knowledge to the property managers all the way down to the maintenance guys that most third-party management companies don't do. The traditional property management model, if you show up at the property and you say to the property manager, who's the owner, what is his strategic objective for the property, they probably don't know. No. They probably don't, because it's just never shared. In our world, because we're vertically integrated, we have those very transparent, open discussions. Hey, here's the plan. Here's what we're trying to do. Because I want everybody in the organization, all the way up and down that chain, to be making decisions that are consistent with what we're trying to accomplish with that property. And the best way to do that is to tell them what you're trying to do, right? It kind of makes sense. So I've always believed in execution. Now, having said that, we do third-party management as well. And we bring that same flavor of management to our third-party engagements, right? Where we share with the property manager, this is what your owner, your client, our client is trying to do with this property. It's our job to get it there.
Interesting. So for investing for so many decades, you've been through a couple of different pullbacks. How can real estate investors prepare for a pullback? And I mean, in multifamily or other asset classes that you've invested into?
Yeah, the number one thing that I have found is get good assets in good neighborhoods.
Yeah.
The number one thing, if you look at the pandemic, if you had a property in a really tough area, it suffered in a really big way. If you had a property in an area that had a very non-diverse employment base, right? Like maybe it's located next to Disney, for example, right? Well, that property had some tough times, right? I mean, it's through it now, but I always start with neighborhood and quality of the asset, because no matter what, one of the reasons we're in multifamily and we don't spend time in office and all these other asset classes is because everybody needs a place to live. Everybody does. I can't figure out a way to change that, right? If it changes, that means you and I aren't worried about losing a few dollars of our investment, right? If we don't need a place to live anymore, that means we got huge, huge problems. And they go way above and beyond money. So that's why I like multifamily, because people are always going to need a place to live. And usually in these pullbacks, what happens, the roughest thing is, boyfriend, girlfriend move in together, kids move back in with parents, things like that. But it's not like what's happening in retail right now or in office space where there's significant contraction, right? It's just not happening. It's there, but it's not nearly as exaggerated.
Yeah, no, that's definitely true. How should potential passive real estate investors vet an investment firm that they're planning on investing with?
Yeah, really good question. There's a lot you can do. Number one, look for experience, right? Make sure that whoever you're going to invest with has experience and has been there, done that, right? So we're fortunate. We've been around for 24 years. So that means I saw 08, 09. That means I saw the pandemic. That means I've seen other pullbacks. And you learn a lot as a company going through those. So you're able to apply those experiences to the next thing, whatever the next thing is. We don't know what's around the corner, right? We know something's going to happen. We just don't know what it's going to be. And you want to make sure that senior management team that's in charge of that property has the necessary experience to figure out how to navigate whatever waters lie ahead. So experience, track record, I think is really important. Something that I talk about a lot. I don't know if you've ever heard of the site called VeriVest, VeriVest. I love that site. We're on that site. It is complete transparency for sponsors. They have vetted our entire 23 plus years of track record. You can see every deal. I've had to send them settlement statements and bank statements and just everything you can imagine. And they've done a full background check on us. So when you get sites like that help you vet sponsors, I think that's really important, because transparency is really important, right? You want to know that track record is what he said it was, right? Somebody's looked under the hood for you, because most individual investors, they won't look through, 16, 17 deals and look at settlement. They just won't do that. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to either. That's a lot of work.
Right.
So track record, experience, and transparency with the vetting.
What are common mistakes you see real estate investors make?
Yeah, there's a number. I get the benefit because we do a lot of third-party management. I get to see a lot of new people in the business. So the number one mistake that people make is they don't take the time to really roll up their sleeves and do the work. Now, that doesn't mean that they have to go change a toilet. That's not what I mean. But I mean, really do a rent survey, go on the internet, find out where exactly all the competing properties are, look at what their rents are, then drive down there in your car and then go visit those properties, right? And figure out what the neighborhood really feels like. Then on the underwriting side, go figure out what should the P&L look like when you're going to operate the property going forward. They usually don't want to do that work. And so what they do for some reason is they like to offload that onto other people. We have people that ask us all the time, will you underwrite this property for me? And first of all, we don't have time to underwrite. I mean, we have so many people approaching us with that question. But most importantly, you're the one that's going to sit in front of an investor, in theory, and ask them for money. And you've got to, with some confidence, understand exactly what all those numbers mean, how they got there. And in our business, with the exception of just a couple numbers, you can pretty much prove out every number in that P&L. And that's, sometimes people don't, either they don't understand it or they don't know how to do the work. But you got to do the work at least a few times to understand it, because then you know when you see a broker's OM or you see a T12, you know that, wait a minute, something's fishy here. They're missing things or whatever.
Yeah.
Because there's no consumer protection rules in place here, right? This is business. So, it's kind of, you're kind of in charge of your own safety, so to speak. So,
yeah, that's great. The other thing I found too, is that like you're saying, is that, they don't find accurate comps. It's apples to oranges comps, or it's like, oh, this is a closest comp. It's 2.5 miles away. Well, it might as well be in another state, because it's not going to. And then other people haven't even driven the neighborhood, like you said. And that's like a first thing I tell people before they even speak to brokers is drive the neighborhood and know, because there's a lot of things you kind of pass over on Google Maps that you think is, that's a train track. That could be a major change from one side of it to the other.
If you like the content that we've shared here, please be sure to subscribe to our channel and hit the bell. So thank you again, and have a wonderful day.